Now, you've seen these protests, the encampment at Sydney University go on for week after week after week. What's your take on Mark Scott now offering the protesters, the actual protesters themselves, to appoint people to join in a review of university policy?
Nobody could believe that he wasn't shutting the encampment down on the very first day. No one can possibly comprehend how he's now rewarding them after 5 weeks of disruption, 5 weeks of intimidation on campus, and now he's rewarding these people by saying, yeah, sure, come be representatives and review all of our ties to Israel, etc., etc. It's ridiculous. And the thing is, these students do, and half of them aren't students, by the way. A lot of them are not students. The leaders of this protest are not students.
The main organiser, when I was there, was open. He's with the Palestinian Action Group. He's not at the uni, never been to the uni.
They're not students and they don't represent actual students. I have had dozens of students come up to me, DM me on Instagram and say they are so fed up. Graduation photos ruined, classes moved and cancelled, exams disrupted. It's ridiculous. It has to stop. They do not represent Sydney Uni students and it should not be allowed to continue, let alone rewarded.
Well, think about what Mark Scott is saying about his university here. It has agreements and to work with Israeli universities and Israeli research organisations, and it has agreements and sponsorships with some defence companies that help with research and also every university has these sorts of arrangements. He's showing a complete lack of faith in his own arrangements, his own policies, because he's saying, let's put them up for review and let's grab these feral radicals who are protesting for 5 weeks. They can be part of the review.
It's nuts. And so we already know that apparently these students have rejected the deal put forward by Mark Scott because they want total divestment, total cutting of ties with Israel. Because, of course, it's never about Palestine. It's always about hating Israel. So unless you put a stop to them, it will not stop because these people don't want peace. They don't want, to come together in unity. All they want is more division, more hatred, more fear, more polarization until we can finally crush any support of Israel at our university.
Well, weakness is provocative. Mark Scott's already tried to appease them and they say, bugger off. What's he going to come back with next?
Appeasement will not work. The encampment must end. And if Mark Scott is not strong enough to end the encampment, then he should resign.
Yeah, I've said the same. It's untenable as it is. He's shown a lack of confidence in his own policies. He's caved into the threats of a small band of protesters, really. He obviously hasn't got the stomach for the job. He should resign, Mark Scott. I want to just show you something of what Julia Gillard said on Never Again last night, because I want to get your thoughts on it. Here's Julia Gillard, the former Labor Prime Minister.
It worries me that people get their understanding of history off social media without ever touching any of the real facts.
Your race, your people committing genocide.
And because of that, I think particularly young people are developing views about this which are unbalanced and really not informed by the history in any way.
Julia Gillard there, Freya, I thought she was particularly impressive last night. Do you think she's right there? Do you think that a lot of the university students, even some of those involved in the protests, really don't understand the issues and the history they're dealing with?
100%. I walked around the encampment last week and I asked every person I could find, do you condemn Hamas? And they wouldn't say anything. Do you believe October 7 happened? And they wouldn't say anything. And it's partly because they've been absolutely brainwashed by Hamas and fundamentally Iranian propaganda on social media. My generation, we don't read the news, we don't watch television, we don't listen to the radio. The only place you get your news is social media, and the way it's structured with algorithms that are based around clicks and views, it rewards the mob, the masses, and there are only 15 million Jews in the world. There aren't that many. It's a tiny, tiny population, and so they're really up against it.
So therefore, hasn't the university also let everybody down by just not educating people?
Totally, totally. I think Josh Frydenberg's documentary from last night should be mandatory viewing at all of our educational institutions, particularly our universities.
Yeah, well said, Freya. I appreciate you joining us again. Congratulations on your fight at the university, talking good sense to a lot of people.
Thank you.
Freya Leach there from Sydney University.